Good afternoon. Good afternoon. True Marine Corps fashion. I say something, you respond. My name is Steve Denauer, and I'm going to be moderating today's panel on Doctrine, Training, Education, and Development. I'm a retired Marine Corps Infantry and Light Armored Reconnaissance Officer, and have been involved with the Ukrainian Freedom Fund since 2024, and I've made 6 trips to Ukraine to assist with their training. It's great to see this audience, great public participation. You might hear some military jargon. If you say, I have no idea what he's talking about, wait for the Q&A and ask your question. I will put in a good plug right now, is that when myself and my fellow retired officers and NCOs who go to Ukraine, we go there as private citizens. This is not a government-sponsored effort, but that allows us a lot of flexibility in country. I've personally taught in a bunker just because of the force protection and the risk assessment. We're all supported. Ukrainian Freedom Fund is all driven by donations of the American people. So we're true believers, and I'm going to assume you're out here in the audience, you're true believers as well. The evolution of the armed forces of Ukraine is not just about their survival in the current fight. The evolution is about a fundamental transformation from a Soviet-style top-down command structure and culture to a Western NATO standard agile force. This transformation started, at least on paper, before Russia's 2022 invasion. But as you can probably appreciate, this transformation has accelerated since 2022 in the crucible of combat and with an unprecedented expansion of Ukraine's military, where the stakes really can't get any higher. This is their national survival. The foundation of this transformation is built upon doctrine and the training, education, and development that is needed to actualize and enculturate that doctrine. Ukraine's goal is to shift from a rigid, centralized control system to a decentralized mission command in order to empower units at all levels to make real-time decisions on the front lines, informed by their commander's intent and enabled by a more Western approach to organizing and leveraging the battlefield functions. They are not transforming for transformation's sake, but to create a force that can think and act faster than their adversary to take advantage of the inevitable opportunities that always arise from the always chaotic battlefield. As you can hopefully appreciate, this profound transformation has enough layers and avenues to keep us here all day. But luckily, we have 4 passionate subject matter experts and practitioners to help us understand what is being done and what remains to be done in transforming Ukraine's military. To my immediate left is Andriy Rishenko, a retired captain of the Ukrainian Navy, who served over 35 years at sea and ashore, including aboard surface warships, at the Ukrainian Navy headquarters, their Ministry of Defense, and as well as NATO's Supreme Headquarters. He organized and carried out more than 100 multinational crisis response exercises, including the US-Ukrainian Sea Breeze exercises and various NATO and EU operations. Additionally, Andriy authored the Mosquito Fleet concept for the Ukrainian Navy. After retirement, he works with the Ukrainian Freedom Fund to improve tactical training and is a consultant in operational concepts. Next, we have Craig Watson, is a retired U.S. Marine Colonel, infantry officer, and operational planner with more than 3 decades of military service. He commanded at the lieutenant colonel and colonel levels and supported operations in Iraq and Afghanistan. He is a graduate of the Marine Corps School of Advanced Warfighting. And Craig was also the Marine Corps Fellow, the first Marine Corps Fellow at Yale University's Brady Johnson program in Grand Strategy. He served for 8 years as a military professor just down the road at the U.S. Naval War College, as well as the Marine Corps Senior Service Advisor to the college president. Craig has traveled to Ukraine 3 times supporting UFF's mission and will be returning there later this summer. Next is we have Mikhailo Pinkevich, or Misha to his comrades. He is an advisor to Constanta Airlines and a retired colonel in the armed forces of Ukraine. He began his military career in 1983 as a naval aviation pilot and served in the Soviet, Northern, and Pacific fleets. In 1994, he joined the Ukrainian Navy, rising to Deputy Chief of Staff of the Ukrainian Navy Command. After Russia's full-scale invasion, he returned to active service in April 2022, and he commanded, not an aviation unit, he commanded an infantry battalion. Yes, I said infantry battalion. For 2 years, and in 2023 was appointed to the General Inspectorate of the Ministry of Defense. He retired in late 2024 with the rank of colonel and continues to contribute as a mentor and instructor for the Ukrainian Freedom Fund. Next, we have Drew Barnes. He's a U.S. Marine Corps veteran and an accomplished operations leader with a diverse background spanning military service, manufacturing, multimodal logistics, and strategic business development. As an infantry officer, Drew served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and across Eastern Europe, leading teams in complex and high-pressure environments during peace and in combat. Of particular relevance for today's panel is Drew's experience planning and conducting multinational training exercises throughout the former Soviet bloc countries focused on NATO doctrine. Since 2023, Drew has traveled to Ukraine 3 times for UFF, serving as an instructor and contributing his expertise in individual soldier and unit training. I'm now going to turn over the speaking to each of our panelists. They're going to get 5 to 7 minutes to give you their remarks, their perspectives. And then once that is complete, we're going to open the floor for questions. Without further ado, Andrei.
Thank you very much. Thank you for introduction, Steve. I would like to explain you about how our activity, our training of Ukrainian military units impact on development of doctrine education in armed forces of Ukraine. First of all, thank you very much for American citizens, for the Western partners providing a lot of billions of dollars in ammunition and newest weaponry to Ukraine, because really it saves Ukraine as an independent country, it's saving our desire to build democratic society. Without this help, we will not be surviving. However, this weapon must be the most effectively used using actually Western operational doctrine and Western tactics. It can be used in different way, but its effect will be much less. And Ukraine, as very first partner of NATO from '94, adopted NATO standards. But when we start this war in 2022, decision-making process for battalions, for brigades, still was actually in the old era fashion. And we had 140 brigades in armed forces and around 700 battalions. Can you imagine how many people? But they were guided with this old documentation. These 4 years changed a lot. And this Western approach, military decision-making process and operational planning process for which actually used decades by NATO and US, already partially adopted in Ukraine. Last year, Chief of Defense of Ukrainian Armed Forces, General Syrskyi, issued formal tasker saying that MDMP should be primary tool in armed forces of Ukraine to plan operation. Most changes now, which we see going from the bottom to the top on tactical level. But it's a problem now on operational level, because operational level guidance still from old era. Good news that General Staff now working in change of this operational doctrine, and we're really looking forward for these changes, because it will change dramatically situation on the front line. And all of this must be implemented in Ukrainian military education process. Why it should be done? It should be done because Ukraine fighting in conditions of always disadvantage to the enemy, to the Russia. Russia always bigger, they have a bigger troops, bigger weapon, and only way how to defeat them, to create this plan for operation and run it in a very smart way. And we identify that this Western concept of maneuver war from mission command and combined arms can be only this fundamental to succeed in multidimensional joint operations. We already conducted 80 Sonata UFF courses in Ukraine since October 2023. We trained more than 3,000 Ukrainian military from cadet to the general. We trained already 10 out of 20 headquarters of a corps, and this year this number will be even more. And just very soon we will train Joint Operation Command with strategic level headquarters in Ukraine, and now and also Operational Command. We have 97 positive feedback from our students, and it's really like a steadily shifting culture, because it's important not like a name of product in each of the steps of the process. It's very important how you develop this product. And cognitivity must replace just simple memorizing, which was a fundamental for our old era education system. Here on the slide you see this is our plan towards this year only with the core. In total we have around 50 courses, but here you see all core and all operational command we make in these courses. Currently we are teaching operational command South and Freeze courses in the middle of the Ukraine, in bunker actually, and a 2-week course, and it's very important for them. Ukraine adopted during this period of time with our involvement, with NATO, with our partners, they adopted already hierarchy of the doctrines, and now it looks really like NATO. It's with a concept on the top, capstone doctrine, key doctrines, and guiding doctrine, 74. Maybe it's a little bit boring, but it's already reflect normal way how to manage these documents. Important that Ukrainians need to be trained more what is the logic behind, how you develop it, how they interact. And again, cognitivity and creative thinking must be basement for the development of them. Sonata UFF conducted 2 courses on Doctrine last year. We plan to do 4 more this year, including course for unmanned system. It's very important because this MDMP, this is like showing the 7 steps of MDMP. It's very simple actually, because you're using sometimes in your civilian life the same steps when you're building a project, but they can be successful in a war if it works within this like Western or US operational art. And fundamentals for this art is a mission command, maneuver warfare, and combined arms. It's very new for Ukrainians. And during our courses, we teach them first week only this issue. And we're training them that it pretty much depends on the trust to the junior commander, and this is a success of the whole mission. If you're acting faster, you're always outside of your enemy in decision making. Also very important that any military doctrine and tactics, they're effective only on a moment when enemy adapt to it. And actually, if you're using old doctrines, which Russia uses still now, I would say it's outdated since day of the signature of this doctrine. And in conclusion, I would like to say that, yeah, Ukraine needs help in adopting of this methodology at tactical and operational level. Ukraine needs to reteach with the help of US and other partners, instructors and teachers at academies and training centers. And it's very important, and it will be really successful to the attempts to finish this war with the maximum advantage of Ukraine and restore its sovereignty and build democracy. Thank you.
There we go. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I have a series of slides here. I know we're pressed for time here, so I'll hit the wave tops in most of these, but these slides are really designed to hopefully encourage questions after. If we don't have time, because we're running long on time to do Q&A, please grab one of us off to the side, either myself or my colleagues. We'll be happy to talk in more depth on anything we cover here, or you can get our contact information. I'm sure we'll all be happy to reach out to you and, again, continue the conversation at another time. As Steve highlighted at the start, I've had the opportunity to work with elements of the armed forces of Ukraine multiple times over the last year. Going to head over there in another 6 weeks. And everything I'll cover today is not only tied to the experience that I've had over there, but it's also from the feedback that I've received from leaders throughout their organization from top to bottom. One of the things I think that many of us observe when we have discussions about what is it that has made the Ukrainian armed forces so effective over the last 4 years, that conversation always tends to veer into discussions that are dominated by unmanned systems and advanced technology. And of course, that's for good reason, and I think we all know that. The ability to field those advanced capabilities has been instrumental in helping offset the imbalances that exist there between the two sides in terms of personnel and equipment and just industrial capacity. But the downside of that, of course, is that in the process, things like leadership development often get overshadowed, which I would make an argument are equally as important, if not more important, to why Ukraine's been so successful in the conflict. So different people have different views on just how important leadership is. To the untrained eye, one might say, well, isn't leadership a little more than just issuing directives and then overseeing the execution of those directives? But I think most people that have served in the military understand that leadership is far more extensive than that and has far more of an impact on an organization. Okay? As you can see up here, it's the thing, and many of us know this, right? It establishes the culture of a unit. It sets expectations, it sets conditions, it sets the standards, and it ultimately determines organizational performance. We have that old saying in the military, everything a unit does or fails to do can be traced directly back to its leadership. Leadership also drives those many intangibles that you see up here on the slide. Initiative, discipline, morale, unit cohesion, will to fight. Those moral factors that Clausewitz has said throughout the start of war or throughout time in warfare are the things that ultimately make a difference on the battlefield. So if that's the case, then why is leadership often second fiddle and not really talked about as having such an impact on why Ukraine's been so successful? Well, for one reason, leadership is very difficult to measure, as we all know. And because of that, we often revert to things like measures of performance and measures of effectiveness that are tangible metrics that you can look at to gauge whether things are being successful. How many sorties did we launch? How many bombs did we drop? How many drones did we shoot down? How many enemy vehicles did we destroy? And so on. And because of that, we lose sight of the fact that leadership at the unit level is such an important factor and has more value to it than it might seem on the surface. Fortunately, the leadership within the armed forces of Ukraine understand that it's going to take more than systems and platforms in order to be effective. They understand that it takes leaders that can think critically and act decisively in high-intensity environments to make those decisions at the point of friction when they need to. They also value well-rounded leaders, right? It's one thing to be very knowledgeable in tactics and operations, but you got to know things on logistics and how to do equipment readiness and also personnel management. And most importantly, they also understand that you can't just grow leadership in combat. It's great to get combat experience, but leadership development is something that happens over an entire career that has to be tied to a specific continuum. And that continuum is also tied to doctrine. And the armed forces of Ukraine have been able to develop a doctrine over the last few years, which is pretty strong. As you can see, it's grounded in their own combat experiences and those lessons that they've learned along the way, and then refined by best practices that they've observed, just like we do, whether that's through the IDF or whether other NATO partners that they can observe and try to pull that into their own doctrine. The key element within that doctrine is the switch to mission command, as many of you are probably already aware. And it's important to highlight with mission command that extends more than just encouraging subordinates to exercise initiative and fulfill the commander's intent. Mission command is a fundamental shift in mindset that permeates everything. It is based on the belief that even with advanced technology, okay, conditions on the battlefield are going to continue to be uncertain and marked by fog and friction. And you're going to require leaders that have the ability to adapt down at the point of friction and immediately make change when they have to. Okay, this is a quick look at the leadership development continuum. And again, we could talk about this in more detail, but think of these as kind of the pillars of what's necessary at a minimum for leaders to be developed properly over the course of their career. Professional military education right there is one of the anchors. Okay, education is where you learn to do that critical thought, right? To solve complex problems. Because a lot of the problems that you're going to run into, there are no textbook solutions for. So that's why we send people to professional military education, so they can learn that critical thinking and be able to adapt and address those things. And you still have training. Training is critically necessary. And of course, leaders have to train to a whole other level to make sure they're not only experts in it, but then they can train their own personnel, right? To maintain those core skills and any new skills that may have come up through tactics, techniques, and procedures. Mentorship and self-development, those are, in a nutshell, probably the best way to highlight that. Those augment what you would get in education and training. Critically important, again, for that development of all leaders at every level. And then, as you've probably heard us talk about a few times, things like performance evaluation and promotion and command selection are critically important, not only for identifying who the best leaders are, but making sure there's a fair and objective process to ensure that those best leaders are actually promoted up to the highest levels of the organization. Finally, in summary, and we'll cover a lot of this stuff again in the question and answer, Armed Forces of Ukraine have made tremendous strides in enhancing their ability to lead on the battlefield at every level, from NCOs all the way up to the more senior leaders. That's not been an easy thing to do, again, as you've heard from the Soviet era centralized leadership that they've had to overcome. There's still much work to do, but they've done a tremendous amount, and they're on the right path to continuing to excel going forward. The bottom line, if we're going to invest in the future of Ukraine and help support their efforts against the situation that they're dealing with, we have to invest in people and not just in advanced technology. Misha?
Good afternoon. First of all, I would like to say thank you very much to give me floor, give me possibility to speak. When I told to my colleague, my friends that I'm going to United States, to Boston, they were surprised, wow. And many of them told me, please say huge hello to US citizen, to US military, and everybody who's supporting Ukraine. It's very important to us. We very appreciate this help, and we really need this. We are strong enough to fight. We will never give up, but we need your support. So thank you very much. So as you have got from Steve introduction, in March 2022, when full invasion Russia started, I was in civilian life, retired already, but I have got distinct decision to return back to active duty. It was my will. It was very strong and decision to fight. First of all, fight for my family, for my kids, and for lovely Ukraine. I was confident in many of my friends. We call each other. We have to go back. It was no doubt. It was a strong message from your heart to go immediately. So I drive my family back to safe place to West Ukraine and return back. So I was running. I need to fight. We were strong. You know, we were emotionally feeling that we can. And nobody will get to our country. We will save our land, and we know that never we will lose this. We will never give up. And at that time, frontline need more battalions, and the Armed Force created up to 50 rifle battalions. And one general called me, "You have to keep in touch and command battalion." I was okay, so if I need you, if you need me, I'm ready. And it was interesting because everybody was civilians. I have only 3 officers with military education and professional officers. No sergeants, all civilians looking at me. I was like, okay, guys, we will do. We were strong, we motivated, and we know what we are doing. But believe me, first year was incredibly strong. We understand what we are doing. No fear, just confidence. And give me, where is enemy? Where is enemy? So we don't have much equipment. I mean, we have only rifles and machine guns, one and a half mortars, and slowly we receive more and more weapons. And mostly we have got from Russians. So end of the first year we have 4 T-82, 6 BMP 82A, not BTR 82A, 7 BMP, and many trucks. So everything what we get it from Russians. It was very cool, and it was like, it makes us more confidence. We know we can fight. We can do all this process successful to us. And by the end of the first year, by the way, my opinion that we were very successful first year, 22. Why? Because of people. People was looking, motivation was very high, and their eyes, I never forget their eyes. They're looking like, give me order, we will destroy everything. So it was high motivation. Everybody knows that we have to stop enemy, and we did it successfully. Why? Because system was decentralized. So we understand first, possibly 2 months, that speed of adaptation on battlefield will give us success. Adaptivity, initiative, so we give initiative for tactical level, we give order how to do, but not, no, what to do, but not how to do, and it was working, and we choose leaders on the tactical level, we put sergeants, so all company commanders were sergeants, no understanding what this tactic is, how to work, but slowly, step by step, we were very successful, and in early 2023, I was visiting Kyiv for 2 days, never left front line, because if you left for 1-2 weeks, you're out of understanding what happened in real situation. So situation awareness was very important, and one of my very good friend died, and I told him go to Kyiv, his ceremony was in Kyiv, and for 1 day I came to Kyiv and give respect to him and his family, and he was like brother to me. And it was something that you cannot explain, you feel it inside and still feel it. And I have chance to meet with US Marine General Bill Mullen, and he like invited me to speak 1 hour discussion. And we met in Kyiv. I was like out of understanding what happened, because your brain is on the front line. He mentioned we meet for 1 hour. Okay, please, sir, yes, for sure. And we meet, and 1 hour discussion change my approach. He gave me inspiration to make changes on battlefield. He gave me inspiration to think critically and look for battlefield differently. And next day I returned back to battalion, and I start thinking what we have to do to be more effective, because honestly first like 6-8 months was flying like 1 hour full. You don't have time to sleep, you don't have time to just receive frago, and you have to repeat reports that you fulfill your order. And it was a lot of fun, fun from military point of view. Sorry, a lot of fun and a good experience. It was very good experience, and people after 2-3 months combat experience make you more stronger. We get more weapon, and we are unit, we can fight. 2 months ago, 3 months ago, it was just civilian people looking at you, you're like, wow, what I will do with these guys? But right now we're a strong unit and ready to fight. We have volunteers from Baltic states, and they always come to me, what do you need, sir, what do you need support? I told them, look, we are okay, just we need nothing. But after that I told him, look, could you invite me instructors from MDMP instructors to teach my HQ? He told me, yes, okay, and they sent me 3 territorial defense representatives from Estonia, and they conducted the front line. It was I did not report to higher commands that we have them on front line. It was prohibited because they are under threat, but they came, they conducted courses, and we understand we need this procedure to make our planning better, to conduct, and of course, we not use in MDMP all this philosophy of planning NATO or Western philosophy in full, but we understand the adaptivity on battlefield, speed of decision making, initiative on the tactical level is very important, very, very important. So we start to use this process, and it was successful. And if you know, 22 and the middle of 23, we will never back up. We will never step one step back, never. And we were proud of this, and always when we have meeting, later we are discussed between our friends, it was one of what we're proud of. We never give step back and never give any meter of our ground. Situation low, and what my point is that situation on battlefield give us message. We need to make changes. We need to change critical thinking, approach to planning, and it will help us. Main mission was to save people. People was very important. And we still have lack of men in units. Right now it's 45-65%. It's like nothing. But be strong and be successful. When I retired in 2024, I was wounded twice and feel limited of health, and I need to retire. And I joined Ukrainian Freedom Fund as instructor, and we are doing training on battalion and brigade tactical operational level, core level. And I spent, during this year, I spent like up to 10 courses with battalion commanders. And you know what is challenge right now? So more civilian people, civilian managers came to our forces. They have different approach. They never will stay under system. They decline it. They never accept a centralized system. Like we still have some levels, and they need new approach, new framework of planning MDMP. So we teach them, we explain them, not teach, instruct them and help them. So on battalion level, they suffer in changes. They always asking, we need this. Give us chance, give us lectures, they read books. Everybody uses books, and but everybody showing, please train or send message to the operational level, because on tactical level they know they need this, and they look, operational level have to help us and give us like direction. It will be much better working. So I wanted to say that very important support of partners. Again, I will tell you, I speaking a lot, working a lot with tactical level, people confident. They tired from war, they exhausted, but they strong. Spirit of nations, defense our country is very important. So thank you very much for your great support. Very appreciate, and please know we will never give up, and we're ready to fight by the end for our country, but we need your support. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Steve, for putting this order together, so I have to follow that. Yeah, awesome. Right. So, yeah, guys, as he said, I'm Drew Barnes, former Marine Corps officer, and I currently work with Sonata on MDMP and TLP training. I've been doing this since 2023. I've gone over 3 separate times. So, what we focus on, a lot like what Misha was talking about, is MDMP, military decision-making process at kind of the battalion and higher level. And then we're doing TLP, troop leading procedures, company and lower levels. So we're hitting it at all levels. Like Misha said, a lot at the tactical level. They're having to do a lot of this just because of the evolution of the battlefield and how that's worked. But training at higher levels, getting that operational level to start using a little bit more of MDMP. And we've also do some of the operational planning process at the strategic level as well. So some of you might have questions, especially as you look at this panel and say, okay, so what do we, I'll call myself a Marine has-been, not these guys, but, U.S. Marines that have experience in Afghanistan and Iraq, like what do we bring to the table for the Ukrainians? And they're fighting, that's a valid question. So, the first thing when I first went to Eastern Europe as a Marine and started meeting officers that were my age that had lived under the Soviet Union, and then you can see it with these guys in Ukraine that we work with on a daily basis, they remember what that was like. And that's something so foreign to many of us that have grown up in America, with the freedoms that we have. But you've got guys that are, my guys and women that are my age and that still remember waiting in the bread lines. They remember Soviet rule and what that was like, and they don't want to go back. So, and you see this, all of our students that we talk to in Ukraine, you go there, you meet the people, and it's just like Misha said, they don't want to give an inch. Because, freedom to us is something that maybe Americans, we like to argue about on social media and Facebook and talk about different freedoms. To these folks, it's real. It's easy, it's tough to really, truly understand the light unless you've been in the darkness. And these folks have experienced the darkness before and they don't want to go back. So, we talk about it, we see quotes, give me liberty or give me death. These folks are living it every day. They're living it every day. And so, what you see with the Ukrainians and with the way that their military is fighting right now, they have all the desire in the world to fight this aggressor, right? They have all the desire, all the courage. I mean, we're seeing courage on a scale that we haven't seen, or I haven't seen in my lifetime. So you're seeing courage on a scale you haven't seen. You've got all the intelligence, all the talent, all the battlefield experience at this point that you can have, right, for a military force. So when you ask, what do we bring when we're coming to teach some processes like MDMP and TLP? Well, what we're really focusing on is not just the processes, but a cultural shift in their system. So what we want to give is these brave soldiers, these brave men and women who are fighting, we want to give them a system that gives them the best chance for success, that utilizes their skills, their talents, their experience the most efficiently. And so you've heard the term used here a couple times, mission command. That's something when we're teaching MDMP, when we're teaching TLP, we're focused on mission command. And so those are things, I think the old Soviet model of leadership, you had a lot of top-down sort of leadership. You've got, if the general says this, and this is what's passed down, and this guy might not be anywhere near the specific spot where Misha is out there fighting the battle, but you've got a style of leadership where this guy on the ground can't make decisions outside of orders he's given. And so what mission command is focused on is when you give your leaders, whether you're given a colonel, a captain, an NCO, an order, you're giving them a task and purpose. They understand the purpose of why they're doing what they're doing, and they're able to adapt and adjust on the battlefield. We also focus a lot on commander's intent. So as a commander, when you're giving orders, you're letting these guys know, hey, this is why we're doing this, and no matter what happens on the battlefield, this is what we need when we're done. This is our end state. We're working on disciplined initiative, and this is something that I think a lot of this, as you heard from Misha, when we go out there and we train units, we train guys that are coming in from the front lines, a lot of this is already happening on the battlefield. I mean, the way that these guys and girls have the technology advancements they've made, the constant adaptation they've had, the way that they're dealing with things in such a different manner from day to day. I think you made a great point. If you leave the front line for 2 weeks and go back, it might be a completely different battle, right? Because of the adaptations that are being made. So a lot of this stuff that we're teaching is happening on the battlefield. We're just somewhat codifying it and bringing, a NATO standard to it and explaining it at all levels of the military so that it can get instituted as a system and not just something that happens during the battle and then is forgotten as they move on. So along with discipline initiative, you're looking at training and equipping your subordinates for the most success. So
that's a training we do. When we go over there and we talk to these guys, I mean, who am I, you know, that I was in Afghanistan and Iraq 15 years ago to go tell these guys that are heroes fighting for their freedom how to do what they're doing. You know, I'm not that guy, but I can tell them, here's the way that we do it. Here's some things, we're not perfect at it, but here's some things that can help y'all in y'all's fight. And, you know, honestly, everyone we train has been very receptive to the training that we do. I think we all echo that. There might be some questions at first, right? What do you have to tell me? But everyone's very open to the training. We stay in touch with a lot of our students as they go back to the front and as they're fighting. And it's always interesting to see, you know, how they're utilizing some of the things that they're learning, just like Misha, you know, said he did after meeting with General Mullen. And something else that we focus on when we're talking about maneuver warfare, a lot of people think that's just maneuver on the battlefield. But when we're talking about maneuver warfare, we're talking about focusing on the enemy, not just putting our strengths against their strengths. You see Russia just throwing men at the battle, right? They're throwing, you know, they call them, you know, meat waves, which is not a great term, you know, that you want to hear. But that's what's happening. And that's not how you want to win the fight, especially if you're Ukraine and you have less manpower, you have less resources, you're fighting someone that has more of that than you. It's about focusing on the enemy, finding their weaknesses and how to exploit them, and defeating the enemy in a much more efficient, effective way, a way in which saves lives and destroys the enemy faster. I think, I know Andy's mentioned it, some of the stats, and I believe it's for leaders that go through the training that UFF provides through Sonata Training Group, leaders that go through, there's studies that have shown 30% lower rate of casualties in their units once they've received this training. And that's a lot of that is focus on the enemy's weakness, on not just throwing everybody at it, finding a smarter way to win these battles. So with that being said, I will be quiet and let you guys ask some questions of these guys up here. I don't know if you saw or heard the kind of resumes that Steve read off, but I should be getting these guys coffee. So I'm excited that they let me on stage to talk a little bit. So Steve, I don't know if you want to go anything or
The great thing about being a Marine Colonel, it's probably the most unmovable object on planet Earth. So I'm going to deviate from the script just for 60 seconds. And the great part is I wrote the script. You may not see it on the slide. You know, it's very fortunate that I'm fluent in Ukrainian. Greg is fluent in Ukrainian, and Drew is fluent in Ukrainian, which is complete BS. I don't speak a lick of Ukrainian. I can order a beer. So we rely on our interpreters. And our core group of interpreters are these young women up here who have masters in English and are certified interpreters, and they help us teach hand in hand. And the challenge we have is keeping them on the payroll because they're highly sought after. So you think, well, let's pay these retired Marines to go over and we love it, but we can't do it without them. So. And I'll say all their fathers are in the military right now. In fact, Vika, I won't point out which one's Vika, her father is killed in action. And one of the other young ladies, her family is down at National War College in Washington, D.C. Her father's a colonel in Ukrainian Special Forces and is just completing his academic year down there, and he'll return to Ukraine and return to the fight. So at this time, I'm going to get back on script. We got some time for a few questions, if anybody has them. Yes, sir.
Just so everyone should hear. Yeah.
Do you have any comments about interviews with captured enemy soldiers in terms of training and morale?
I got your point. We capture many prisoners of war. I was speaking with each of them. I give them 3 questions. Why you come to our ground? what is reason, what you need. You have land, you have everything. Why you come? We're a successful country. We live, we enjoy life. We grow in our kids. And their answer was only one. So we need money. They promise us money. We wanted to. We have debt and so on. And when you're looking at them, you feel excuse to them. It's like they are not so strong. They are very disappointed of systems. They send us, they lie to us. We will stay not on front line. So morale is very low. Morale. Yes, they have some units. They're really, really strong. We have very solid units. We face them, and 10 units. They really, really professional. It's not easy to fight. It's not. So we will always respect the enemy. It's our position to respect them in fight, but no excuse for them in our ground. So discussion with Russians was disappointing me, like personally me, just disappointing because they look not like human. Like they look like they are like when they strong, when they stay, like they have some speeches, yes, but like soldiers, they're not bad soldiers, but not in front of Ukrainians. So if I answer for your question.
If you could just go with the microphone.
Hi there. I have a question about the technological developments of unmanned aerial vehicles and unmanned ground vehicles and so forth, and how. So General Datula talked about the rapid innovation cycle as, in essence, the most important lesson. How that's being implemented on a strategic and operational planning level, both in terms of sharing lessons across the front between the different units. As I understand it, the brigades are buying these drones directly, and then and so there's more of a ties in between. And so I just wanted to ask about that.
Thanks for the question. In Ukraine, this technological advantages refer to the NATO. It's a link system when you know everything on your bot of space and tactical, operational, strategic level online. We didn't have such system because we didn't have access to this. You should be a NATO member or you should be a very advanced NATO partner like Sweden and Finland. They have such access. But we developed our own. It's called Delta. And this system compatible with the NATO. In one day when we join NATO, we can just switch a couple of stuff and we will have access to everything what NATO see. Currently, we see everything on Ukrainian territory online. And regarding these new technologies, we are quite advanced in the drones, in unmanned system, particularly for air defense, because Russians now, they send in up to 1,000 striking drones on Ukrainian territory. I'm speaking about Shaheds missiles. I'm not speaking about FPV drones, and it's much more thousand. And we now build integrated picture, and we see all of the threats online. And it's again Ukrainian product. It's designed with Western help, and and it's significantly increased our capability in the targeting. Now what we need to complete work on integration, convergence of all Western equipment which we get together with Ukrainian on a bot of space and operational and strategic level, because we still have a lot of work to do. We get F-16 aircraft. It's excellent aircraft. It's not new, but it's much better than MiG-29 or Sukhoi 27 in old version. And it's better because it's smarter. It's smarter because difference, I would say, in MiG-29, if you take off, pilot always rotating head and looking for the target. In F-16, you took off and you just see everything on the screen. Pilot just offered course of action. And this is what we need to do more. My personal remark, don't be overexcited with the drones. Drones really change a lot in a warfare. But warfare, like, music notes, 7 music notes. It's the same for the war. It's 8 war fighting functions. It's intelligence, command and control, logistic, fire. And actually, drones, it's a specific platform which is covering probably 7 out of 8 these war fighting functions. But they also have weaknesses. If it's a bad weather, air drones cannot fly. And we had a case maybe months ago when we were too much relying on drones in the frontline protection, because it's a real challenge now for Ukrainian armed forces. And Russians use this case and they build up striking forces composed of tanks and armored vehicles, and they strike a piece of front line close to Zaporizhia. And it took a lot of efforts for Ukraine to stabilize the situation. Yeah, technology makes sense, but again, combat power consists of technology, morale, and concept. And all these 3 components must be balanced and harmonized. And we always need to speak. But in generally, theory of the war existing from Sun Tzu time without difference. And 100 years ago, we had a radio, everybody was very excited. Later on radars, now we have drones, and who knows what will be next. But technology, if you have better technologies, certainly give you advantage if you have a right concept, smart concept. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add on to that real quick and circle it back to training, education, and leadership. One of the things that you highlighted in the back end of your comment there was is there sharing of information between the brigades, right? So that's one of those areas, again, when we talk about that old Soviet mindset and trying to break those old paradigms and such that exist out there. That's one of the things that you hear all the time. They don't share information well, because information is power. So for us, when we go in and we're training subordinate leaders, we instinctively think, hey, I've got to train my replacement in case I get killed or something happens and we're incapacitated. For them, and I've heard this from many of them, they'll say, well, why would I give someone the power, or why would I give them information that they could potentially take my job, right? So this is, again, a mindset thing where for us, where we just think that cross-communication between brigades and battalions and the use of after-action reports and lessons learned that we just know is second nature, they're getting there, but they're not there yet, and they need help, and they understand the value of having those things. But again, it's one of those things where they're trying to break down, legacy things that still permeate throughout their organization.
I just would like to add that right now all units have advanced situation awareness system, Delta. So you can open a computer, you can find enemy position of your units in real time, and it's always adjusted. So real information in real time, so it's much easier to plan your operation and understand what's happening left flank, right flank, and how you can do. So it's very, very advanced one, and it's very useful.
Unfortunately, am I out again? Great. Unfortunately, we have a rather tight schedule, but on a positive note, if you have another question, this panel will loiter in the back and you can ask it one-on-one, and they may be able to tell you things they wouldn't tell you from the podium. So appreciate your attention, appreciate your interest, and we're going to take about 5 minutes to reset for the next panel, and we will continue to march. Thank you.